All right, welcome everybody. My name is Cody. I am our Senior Engagement Coordinator of future here at UniSC. I'm a part of our Future Students team. We are joined today by our Associate Dean, Suzanne Hopkins, as well as our current student and almost graduating student, Stacey, and our team member who's going to support and answer all our amazing questions tonight, Jody from our Future Students team. Tonight, we're going to go over some of our courses, our placement experiences, ways to gain entry into university, some options around our scholarships, as well as jumping into a panel discussion, being able to answer all your questions that you'd like to know for yourself to get ready for studying at this year or maybe in the near future. What I could highly recommend, you'll see a Q&A button at the bottom or top of your screen, depending on what device you're on. Feel free to start putting your questions in below or throughout the presentation. Jody will be able to answer them on the spot, but we might save some of those really good questions for the panel discussion a little bit later on. So if there are any questions that you're dying to get answered, feel free to throw them straight in there and we'll be able to answer them throughout the presentation. All right, I think we should get started. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live and recognize the continuing connection to land, water, and community. We pay respect to elders past and present. So a little bit about University of the Sunshine Coast. We are a multi-campus university, including the opportunity to study online across many of our degrees. Something that I'm really proud of is that flexibility that comes with being a multi-campus university. We have Fraser Coast, which is actually located in Hervey Bay, as well as Gympie, Sunshine Coast, Caboolture, and Moreton Bay. Our more regional campuses, such as Caboolture, Gympie, and Fraser Coast, offer that real one-on-one attention where you really get to know every student and academic by name, and everyone has quite a close connected relationship, which is really cool. I know for myself, I grew up in a small country town. I know that was really important to me. Whereas Sunshine Coast and Moreton Bay, although they still have many of those aspects, we would like to call them a full-service campus. They have amazing facilities such as gym facilities, a range of different cafes and services, as well as ways of connections such as sport games and other services that you might be seeking out outside of your learning model. Suzanne, I'm going to throw over to you. I think the best person to talk about our education degrees and everything about education is probably you versus someone like myself, but I'll be able to help out a little bit later on. Thank you, Suzanne.
Sure. Okay, thank you. So hello and welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Susan Hopkins and I'm a lecturer in education here at UniSC. I also have research interests in sociology of education and cultural studies and gender studies. So I hope you're here because you're thinking about studying education with UniSC. You know, as an educator, you'll be working to inspire younger generations and to continue making the world a better place. But before that, our educators will do their best to inspire you. So we'll support you throughout your studies and hone your skills in the classroom while developing you as a future leader in education. Next slide. So the first question I guess you have is, which program is right for you? Well, let's drill down a little further and look at some of them. We do have our Bachelor of Education Early Childhood and also a Bachelor of Education Studies Early Childhood. So you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between those? They sound quite similar. Well, Bachelor of Education Early Childhood is a teaching level up to year 3, so that's birth to 8 years. Whereas your Bachelor of Education Studies Early Childhood is up to preschool, so that's your 0 to 5 years student age bracket. They also have slightly different accreditation. So your Bachelor of Education Early Childhood is QCT, that means Queensland College of Teachers accredited, as well as ACECQA approved program, whereas the Bachelor of Education Studies Early Childhood is only ACECQA approved. The locations are also a little different. So the Bachelor of Education has locations at the Sunshine Coast, with some courses available at Moreton Bay, whereas the other has Sunshine Coast, Moreton Bay, and now Adelaide, which is a new location, which is really exciting for us too. All right, so some example career outcomes. If you decide to do the Bachelor of Education Early Childhood, you might hopefully end up as an early childhood centre leader or director. Or maybe an early childhood centre kindy teacher, or a primary school teacher, a youth or learning support. Whereas if you do the Bachelor of Education Studies, that's more if you're aiming to be a children's advocate or work in an early childhood centre, kindy teacher, or youth support. Now, the big difference, of course, is that the Bachelor of Education, which you get the QCT accreditation and registration eventually with, is the 4-year program, whereas the Bachelor of Education Studies is a little shorter at 3 years. So you do need an ATAR of 68 to get into Bachelor of Ed Early Childhood and 65 for Bachelor of Education Studies. Okay, so you might like to read further through those in your own time, but hopefully that gives you a sense of the distinction between the two programs. And we like to offer some variety, if you like, and some flexibility in terms of the choice of programs available to you. You'll note too, importantly, that there's a difference too in days of work integrated learning. So that's days of what we might call place-based learning, where you're actually on site having a kind of practicum. So you'll notice that you'll do slightly less days on site in a centre if you do the Bachelor of Education Studies. So you might like to think about which of those might be right for you if you're interested in early childhood. Okay. Primary education. This is actually one of our most popular programs. And in this program, you will complete 80 days supervised teaching in local schools, and you have the option of rural and remote settings. Complete a discipline specialisation in STEM or English literacy. Work with children and families, attend professional development seminars to enhance your knowledge. And you can study at the Sunshine Coast campus, Moreton Bay, or Fraser Coast campuses if you undertake this program. Now, it also has an ATAR of 68. You can commence semester 1 or 2, so there's flexibility in when you start as well. And this one goes for 4 years. Okay, so it's also QCT accredited. Prerequisites: English, as you can see there, maths, and as it says in our little pull-out text there, more than 85% of UniSC teacher education graduates are employed full-time. That's good news. Next slide. Secondary. Now, this is really exciting because you can combine your degree. In this program, you will complete 80 days of supervised teaching in local schools. And again, you can choose to do rural and remote settings if desired. Gain curriculum and pedagogy knowledge and skills in 2 teaching areas. Learn how to plan lessons, assess students, and manage a classroom. Attend professional development sessions and seminars, enhance your professional knowledge. Gain eligibility to become a member of the Queensland College of Teachers, which is really important to be a QCT registered teacher. Again, ATAR 68. Again, you can start in semester 1 or 2. And the duration, again, 4 years for this one. Okay. We are a top-ranked public university in Queensland for teaching, student support, and overall experience. Next slide. Okay, now if you do secondary education, you can combine your degree. So you can do a Bachelor of Education Secondary and at the same time a Bachelor of Arts, for example, or Bachelor of Education Secondary and, this is a really popular option, Bachelor of Recreation and Outdoor Environmental Studies. Or you can do Bachelor of Education Secondary and Bachelor of Science. So you can imagine that expands the options available to you when you graduate. Cody, did you want me to run through each of them? No? Okay, so I'll go on to the next one. How are we going for time? We probably should go on to the next one. So the Master of Teaching is another option. We have that specialisation again in either primary or secondary. If you go on to do a Master of Teaching, that's on top of your undergraduate program, which is the 4 years. You can then elect to do another 2 years on top of that and get the Masters of Teaching. Now, that runs at Sunshine Coast and Moreton Bay. You can elect to do it part-time, but obviously it's longer to do it over a part-time schedule. It's the same for the Master of Teaching Secondary, 2 years full-time, or longer, usually about 4 years, equivalent part-time. Again, you've got the choice of the Sunshine Coast or the Moreton Bay campus. With the Master of Teaching, you can learn to inspire young students and apply existing subject knowledge in the classroom. Study courses that prepare you to teach either English, maths, science, technology, arts, history, geography, health, and physical education. And again, we're very lucky that we have such good partnerships with schools that we can provide you with professional experience in 3 blocks, totaling 60 days of practice teaching, with lots of support, by the way, for that in-place learning. And with the opportunity again to gain experience in rural or remote locations, if you so choose. The Master of Teaching Secondary builds on existing subject knowledge with discipline-specific courses preparing you for the classroom as well as your discipline. Complete supervised professional experience in 3 blocks, totaling 60 days of practice teaching, with the opportunity again to gain experience rurally and remotely. And there are scholarship opportunities available. We have support staff who are experts in supporting students who are interested in scholarships, so you can ask questions about that as well as anything else towards the end. How are we going for time? Yeah, we got any more time, or that might be it for me? What do you think, Cody?
I think I'll jump in, talk about pathways.
Okay,
And I think the best part is obviously the panel discussion. I know for me,
sure.
especially when it comes to education, I really like diving deep straight into the placement experiences, especially when we have a
Great.
student in the room who can talk about their experiences, but other options as well. I'm just going to jump straight in here at talking about pathways. There's many different ways to get into university or UniSC. Most commonly, a lot of our school leaver students might come through our ATAR pathway. We've highlighted a lot of those entry requirements above. Obviously, when it comes to postgrad, we'll talk about this a little bit later, it usually requires a bachelor's degree to gain entry into our Masters of Teaching courses, such as primary or secondary. Now, if you are a school leaver, you're currently in year 12 or going to be in year 12 maybe next year, we have a really great program for you called the Early Offer Guarantee. If you want to learn more about that, jump on our website. It's an early entry scheme that we work with your local schools, especially who are a part of our footprint across all our campuses, and be able to provide a purposeful program that connects you to the university, as well as a way to gain entry into university nice and early. This is one of my favorite programs and something that I work with very closely within my role at UniSC, which is our tertiary preparation pathway, which I call TPP. This is a fee-free 6-month bridging program. It's a 1-semester fee-free program if you study it full-time, where you study 4 subjects at university, designed to prepare you for success in our institution, as well as a way to gain entry onto that next level of study. So for example, if you have no prior learning or prior study experience and you're looking for a pathway into university, maybe you're someone who has studied in the past, but it's been a very long time and you may be lacking in some confidence in that academic writing, referencing, or how to navigate university systems and processes. Tertiary Preparation Pathway Program is a fantastic way to build up those skills. Do it for 1 semester and then move on to your bachelor's degree on the success of completing that program. We also have diploma level studies. Now, if you're not wanting to jump into a 3-year course or a 4-year course just yet, we do have diploma level studies in early childhood and in primary. These diplomas only take 1 year of study at a full-time level. The great thing about it is that you can gain employment straight away in that industry that you're obviously passionate about, versus maybe working in an alternative job that might be not relevant to the direction you want to go. So it's a really great way to level up. It does count towards your first year of study and you'll move into your second year. We can talk about this as well a little bit later, but it's a great way to grab that quick level of qualification, as well as keep on studying and using that to gain employment in I guess, that entry level position in our education fields. We also have selection rank to gain entry. If you have studied a Cert 3, Cert 4, or a diploma at any of our vet partners, this can also help you gain entry into university. A Cert 3 actually gives you a ranking score of 68, which actually qualifies you to gain entry into most of our education programs. Now, keep in mind, a lot of our education programs still have prerequisite subjects that you might be missing, where TPP will provide those subjects fee-free for you, so you can meet those entry requirements and study with us in the near future. A Certificate 4 gives you a ranking score of 74, and a diploma gives you a ranking score of 82, which definitely hits those numbers you need to gain entry into a lot of our courses. We have Indigenous Direct Entry and Access Scheme. Jump on our website. We have a range of access schemes for our Indigenous students, as well as Access UniSC. more relevant to our school leavers or our regional students. But once again, if you jump on our website, there's a way where we can utilize a lot of these services to offer you further support in terms of entry into the university or support while you study. Talking about support, this is something that I work a lot in my day-to-day work, where we have a range of services, not for just when you begin at university, such as TPP, but while you're studying. And for some of you, you may never need some of these services, and that's fantastic. But for a lot of our students, don't realize that when they are needing them, they don't actually seek out these services that are available to our students. We have academic and study support, careers and employment, health and well-being, financial support and scholarships, student groups and partnership opportunities. It's a great way for you to connect with other students. We have counseling, disability and equity, and student success team. Now, I really just want to highlight the careers and employment team. They're a really great team. We work with them all the time. If you're sitting here today going, I'm passionate about education, but maybe I don't know if I want to do early childhood, primary, or secondary. I'm really lost between these courses and what's going to be the best fit for me. Now, we will talk about your options in terms of if you do start one and how do you transfer over and what that looks like. But for now, what I recommend is that you can actually, before even becoming a UniSC student, connect to our careers employment team and book in with a careers advisor. You can book in a session with them. It's fee-free, it does not cost you anything, and they'll help support you in terms of what you need in terms of career outcomes and what your goals are, and aligning it to the right course that would be most suitable to you. Now, that same team is also the team that will help you when you get close to graduating as well. They can provide a range of advice when it comes to job services, how to prepare your resume, how to prepare your application letters. They are a fantastic team that will help you at the start of your journey with UniSC, as well at the end when you're moving into that next step. Really fantastic team. I highly recommend utilizing them while you're here. The panel discussion, fantastic. Stace, I'll get you to jump on camera with us. I have a couple of preloaded questions that I know are always usually pretty popular, and then we'll move to the questions from the audience. Now, regarding our attendees here tonight, please start throwing your questions in here. We're going to answer them live. If there's any direct questions you have around placement experiences, maybe studying rural, what does that look like? Feel free to throw them in and we'll be able to answer them live. So the first question I'd like to throw is straight over to Stacey, is how did you gain entry into university?
So, hi, I'm Stacey. I got entry into uni through TPP. During high school, I didn't do the subjects that I needed to study a degree because that wasn't something that was on my mind. I'm also a mature age student, so I graduated high school in 2005 and I started my university career or degree in 2021. And to do that, I needed to get the prerequisites up. None of my marks from school were good enough to get me the ATAR that I required. We also didn't have ATAR. But that was something that I needed to work on. So I enrolled in TPP over Christmas. I did the 3 subjects that I required to do in that session, and got entry straight in to university through TPP, and I started in February the following year.
That's really great to hear. So obviously you went through the TPP program, which was a really great way to build up your skills, build up your confidence. I know it does that really well, especially finding the university systems and processes. And then, the one thing I find, I get the feedback from TPP students is when you roll into your bachelor's, for the first couple of weeks, you're more focused on the content instead of how to find information, where a lot of other university students who are in there for the first time, although they may be very, very bright, are still going through that navigation sort of systems and process analysis. So I know it gives you a really great head
100%.
start when you are on that next level of study.
Yeah, 100%. I found that going in and doing that TPP course, look, I'm pretty tech savvy. I'm pretty comfortable with using technology and finding things, but there are systems and referencing and how to write an academic report or how to write an essay that I didn't know how to do. So doing that TPP course gave me those skills that I needed so I could focus on the content right at the beginning of my degree, and then I could build on that. And I could build on that knowledge that I was able to gain.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. We're getting a lot of questions around placements, and I knew it's always the most popular because it is a massive commitment. It's one of those most amazing experiences that you'll have. but it's something that has to be deeply considered because I guess placement experiences do affect all of us. You know, we do talk about cost of living and the balance of study, work, family, and all those commitments. Is how do we make placements work? What does that look like a part of our curriculum over a 3 or 4 year program? And how does that affect us? And how do we plan for it? So the first one I'd like to throw over to you, Suzanne, is how do our placement blocks work across most of our education degrees? And then Stace, I'll throw over to you about your experiences and love to know more.
I think what's unique about placements at UniSC is we have a whole course that's dedicated to what you might call work integrated learning. And the placements happen sort of within the actual course. So you're learning content, pedagogy or the science of education, as well as the practice at the same time. And your lecturer who is teaching you in that course is also supporting you all the way through your practicum and preparing you for the practicum. So you're not just kind of dropped in there. You get a lot of preparation, what to expect, how to handle any behavior management issues that might come up. All the kind of questions you might have, you could possibly ask, are dealt with in that specific course before you even step foot in the school. So that's an advantage we have that's been very highly rated by teachers and students, and also by accreditation bodies who've been just recently praising UniSC for the quality of our education degrees and the support that we offer students and the enthusiasm of our recent graduates. So you can choose where you'd like to do your placement, and you will have a comparable experience wherever you go. I saw that question was in the chat. Yes, you can go to rural and remote places, but you'll still have the same quality experience. All it means is that maybe some of your sessions with your lecturer might be on Zoom rather than a face-to-face visit, but you'll still get a comparable and quality experience and lots of support along the way.
Thanks, Suzanne. So, Stace, can you tell me how you, I guess, utilize your 80 days of placement? What do those blocks look like, and how is that spread out for you over a 4-year period?
Yeah, so in my first year, I did 2 weeks at the end of semester one. So a semester is 2 school terms. So we did 2 weeks at the beginning of at the end of semester one in the first year, 2 more weeks at the end of semester two in that same year. And then in years 2, 3, and 4, we had a 4-week block at the end of each year. So that's how your 80 days is broken up. That being said, in your third and fourth placements, now I saw this question in the chat somewhere. In your third and fourth placements, you can choose to go on a rural or remote placement. They prefer that you don't do it for your first or second ones. That being said, going rural and remote means that you have to be more than 50 kilometers from your house or your home campus. Now, I'm from Hervey Bay. I'm from the Fraser Coast, and I'm currently on my final placement. I'm 4 days from finishing my final placement. I am at a school 700 kilometers from where I live, out rurally. There is 1,000 people in this town, and I love it out here. It is so good.
Thanks, Stace. Now, I think the big one is people, we have attendees asking, do I have to do regional remote, or do I have control where, you know, for example, we have some mature students and that are balancing a young family and they want to go into education, they're passionate about their field, and that might not be an option for them. Do they have options to stay locally within their footprint?
Yeah, you don't have to go rural and remote. You have to apply to specifically go rural and remote. Otherwise, you will get put within a 50-kilometer radius of your house. So depending on where you live, you're going to be placed somewhere as close-ish to you, generally within about a 30 to 40-minute drive max from where you are. That being said, all the way through my pracs and my degree, I've been told I can't choose my place for my placements. That is up to, there is an entire team dedicated to getting in contact with schools, arranging your placements, and sorting out that whole paperwork side of it and making sure that you are hitting all of your milestones and all of your age brackets that you need to hit during your placements. So, and that's part of the degree as well. So you don't have to find your own placement, which is a big one. That's a big difference between us and TAFE, that kind of thing.
Thanks, Stacey. Now, Suzanne, this one's definitely going to be over to you. And it's a really good question, especially when we do have so many campuses. Ryan has asked, considering the close relationships the university has with surrounding schools in the area, does that improve or provide better employment opportunities within the footprint when it comes to our education students getting employment, I guess, locally?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I don't have access to the specific data on that, but just generally speaking, anecdotally, from what I've observed, you have the same opportunities for employment all around the state. And in fact, we often send students interstate as well. So you can get a placement interstate if you so choose. We have relationships with schools all around the state, as well as locally, and interstate as well. So my personal advice would be to choose the school that and the place that you are interested in and that works best for you, because you will get quality opportunities regardless of where you're located.
Yeah, and I can add on to that. What I do find, and actually, Stacey, you are a student of this scenario, is placement experience, although you may feel like you are working for free or perceptually before you get into them, is that you're working for free. It is a great way to get that real hands-on experience, the reason why you're doing this course to get into that dream job, but also that network, that common saying as it's who you know, not what you know. And that's not really how it works. But so many of our students graduate with positions due to their placement experiences, creating those relationships and those long-term connections and being able to gain positions if those positions become available within those schools, within the footprint that they desire. Obviously, there's many aspects that have to line up, but even a student like Stacey has gained employment before graduating. And Stace, can you elaborate, I guess, what you've chosen for your graduate? Now, you're coming up to your graduation. You're literally just finished your subject. You're now just doing a final block placement off the top of my head. And
Yeah,
then
so I
you're
do my
going to
last one
train.
today. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm actually moving I start teaching full time at a local school where I am. And it was actually through recommendations from the principal of the school that I'm at, currently recommending me for this position at the other school. Now, I have been to this school previously on a trip that the university runs called Coast to Country, and it is through those connections that I have made during the last 4 years of my degree that have meant that these teachers and these principals can recommend you for a position. I didn't have to go looking for this position. This position literally fell into my lap and I was offered the position. So now I'm teaching full time at a school down the road from where I am.
Now, just quickly, how far away is that from Harvey Bay?
680 Ks.
So you've done this through obviously rural and remote placement
Yeah.
experiences, and you've decided, yeah, I'm happy to live out here and I want to do this
Yes.
move. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yes.
Now, following on that, you brought up a really interesting program that I actually don't have a lot of knowledge about and would love to know more. What does the Coast to Country program look like?
So the Coast to Country program is a program run through the university, through the teaching side of the university. It is an extracurricular activity that you can do. You put your name down, you have to apply. It's a free trip in the end for 5 days from your campus up through there's usually one of three trips. So it's usually either through Central Queensland, up through North Queensland, or far North Queensland. And on that trip, you go through many different towns, many different schools. It's like a big road trip. And you meet the principals and you visit the classes and the schools and join in at the pub and you meet the locals and the bakeries and you get a feel for being immersed in that town and in that place. It might be for a short time, but it's enough to wet your whistle and make you go, oh, maybe I'd like to do a placement out here. Maybe I'd like to come back out here at a later date. And that is how I decided that rural was the way to go for me. I am doing full time. So with placement, it is a full time commitment. So Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. So for me, working outside of that doesn't work. But placement is, you have to be able to do that. That's the only thing. And that's something that everybody always asks. So I figured I'd answer it.
Thanks, Stacey. Now, Suzanne, I have a really great question for you. And it's funny because there might be a lot of audience members who are looking at the postgraduate courses that we do offer. From Ryan, I have a non-educational bachelor's degree in crime and crime and justice. Have you seen people with other non-education bachelor's degree transition to the Masters of Teaching primary or secondary and succeed?
I have seen students succeed. Yes, most definitely, even if their first degree wasn't in education, because there are a lot of transferable skills in those other programs that you will use in your master's, such as your research skills and your writing skills and so on. So I wouldn't let that put you off. I would suggest speaking to one of our careers advisors for more specialist advice, but in answer to your question, most definitely, yes, I have seen people with that sort of background do very well. I just saw another question in the chat that really pops out to me, which is the one about, is there demand for teachers in the urban areas and areas that are close to campus? Yes, there is. I've been to a lot of meetings recently where the topic is the teacher shortage. We are looking for teachers just about everywhere these days. So I think you can be assured that there will be strong demand for teachers in those areas. Yes.
Yeah, education as a whole, I think in Queensland, and I know we've been talking about remote a lot tonight, which is actually quite unique. But we're very lucky to have a multi-campus institution that supports its local community and its connections, but also creates that job and employment opportunities in those footprints as well. Anywhere from Fraser Coast, Sunshine Coast, and Moreton Bay, with such large growing populations, like our schools need support, especially as we are going through what we like to be told is that aging demographic. A lot of our teachers are exiting the workforce or coming to that time. Therefore, we're needing more and more young teachers and teachers entering our workforce. Now, once again, they are crying out for regional and remote service as well. I know a lot of our smaller communities in regional Queensland would love to have some fantastic new teachers, and we do like to highlight those opportunities because there's some fantastic schemes attached to going remote sometimes. Check on the Queensland Government Education website. There are ones that they provide, but there's also scholarships and I guess graduate opportunities that the university provides as well that's worth looking into. Now, a really great question. Once again, we get so many good questions tonight that I really enjoy. I want to pursue the Bachelor of Primary Education in Moreton Bay campus, but I wish to start in July and don't want to take a break in my education studies. Can I get started? Suzanne, that might be the best one for you. That's completely all right.
Yeah, I would have to check up on that one. That might be more a learning advisor, career advisor question.
Yeah, we do have our primary education degrees are available for 2 intakes a year, usually in July and February. You can start. The great thing about having a 2 intake institution is that when you start in July, you are predicted to finish the same time in 4 years' time if you are studying a 4-year course. It will not extend your study. You can maintain a full-time study capacity, the same as if you studied in semester 1. So yes, you can get started at primary education. If you can't get started at the Moreton Bay campus straight up, Sunny Coast will be your best option, but you can also transfer over from semester 1. There is not a great deal of difference in distance, but if you're someone who's very motivated and going, I want to start now, and if that location is filled and not available, then utilize the Sunny Coast campus just for 1 semester. But once you're in, you have that flexibility to choose between our campuses. Stacey, sorry, did you have something further to add to that?
I did. I have had a look tonight as well on the courses and when they're available. And depending on how much through you want to keep going, you do also have the option. There are some subjects available to study in session 8 and session 5. So you can, and that would bring it down to, you could do it in the same time frame, but do it in 3 subjects per semester if you wanted. That's what I did. Makes it much more manageable, especially with that work-life balance.
Yeah, I know when I was studying, now I'm a business student, so it had different requirements, but I definitely utilize what I would like to call the 3-3-2 model, where I utilize sessions and I used to do 3 subjects, and try to do 1 or 2 subjects over those smaller sessions just to spread out the load. I was someone who worked a lot more while I was doing my degree, but I also had a lot less contact hours in my degree than maybe education courses, nursing, and other health courses as well. So I did have to commit to a lot more hours. Um, we have, and this, Suzanne, you might be involved with a lot of our future teaching models and the plan to go to a trimester. Ryan has asked a further question: if the teaching degree will be going towards that model, and if so, do you have any idea when that might start?
It hasn't been announced yet. We probably will be moving to trimesters, but it hasn't been officially announced when that will happen. For some programs, it actually may not be until 2027. So I can't promise about trimesters at this stage.
And that's fair enough. It is something that we are working tirelessly on as an institution. It is a big project for us, as it is a key part of what we like to call our strategic plan. And I'm very excited to see the first set of courses that are starting to roll out through that model. So it should be a really great way to study, especially for maybe our mature audiences who are balancing a lot of things outside of committing to their studies. Now, I'm just going to there's probably capacity for 1 to 2 more questions. Considering they're both likely problem. Okay, around support. And this is a key one, especially with placement within and a degree that can be quite challenging sometimes. Stacey, is there any support services that you utilize throughout your degree or that you would recommend throughout your university journey?
I actually used quite a lot. I used the student advisors. So on our campus up in the Fraser Coast, we have Hayley, who, if I didn't understand an assignment, would take the assignment to her, and she would help sit down with me, nut it out, go through it, do a bit of a draft check on it occasionally. There's that service. There's also, I've used the counselling services when I've just been overwhelmed with the study load. We've got a food bank on the Fraser Coast campus. I don't know if that is across the board, but we've got a food bank. Those days you can't get to the grocery store because you're busy. I've also used, oh gosh, I know there's at least 2 more. There's quite a lot of services on campus. And the counselors, they are amazing. Just being able to help you if you just get overwhelmed, working out that study plan of how you're going to do it, how you're going to get there, how you're going to manage a task that seems that it's too big. Um, I love the student advisors on our campus, and I love all the support staff. And I'm going to miss them. I really am.
Yeah, it is really a close-knit community at campuses such as Harvey Bay or Gympie or Caboolture. Like everyone knows, especially when you're there for 4 years, everyone really knows each other quite well, from professional staff, academics, our student support team, and all the students. There's many times I've been up at the campus and everyone's actually having lunch together. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
We have chomp and chat and things on Tuesday up at the Fraser Coast campus. So we are talking to everybody all the time. And I could name students in other degrees because I've spoken to them. We've introduced ourselves. And over that 4 years, I know every tutor, every lecturer on that campus. And it's amazing because everyone says hi all the time.
That's really cool. I'm going to throw it out to you guys for just one question that I would love to leave with the audience and for our team that's helping out here tonight. If there's one piece of advice you could pass on to, I guess, a future student about our studying education or how to get through education, what would that be? And Stace, I'll leave it with you first, just getting to the end of your journey. What would your piece of advice be? Because you did go to university a couple of years later. You obviously had to go through a lot of perseverance to get there, and now you're choosing such a unique opportunity for a graduate position. What's your thoughts when it comes to how to get through?
Take the chance, make the leap, and back yourself. And ask for help if you need to. But back yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. And Suzanne?
Yeah, I would say the same kind of thing. Don't be too anxious, just give it a try. I meet a lot of students who do get anxious about starting university. And gosh, when I think back to 30 years ago when I first started university, my parents had not been to university. I was so anxious on my first day at uni. I was literally shaking. And here I am, all these decades later, having taught at 3 different universities and having taught for many years in a secondary high school and now a registered teacher. And it was really some of the best years of my life doing my teaching degree. I met so many wonderful people that I'm friends with today who are now principals of schools and have been really great mentors for me throughout my life. And I guess it's a little old fashioned these days, but I remember somebody saying to me back when I was very young, the thing about teaching is you'll always find work, and you can find work all around the world, and you can take a break from teaching and come back to teaching. And I've done that many times. I've always been able to come back when I take a break off to attend to family commitments or to pursue something else, and I've always been able to come back and find that it's just a great thing to have under your belt, that teacher registration. And the skills are so transferable as well. I've done so many other things using the skills I acquired as a teacher. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And I know it is a little bit scary at first. I myself actually taught TPP for many years too. So I think tertiary preparation is such a fantastic opportunity, especially if you are first in family and you may be feeling a bit nervous about university. It does, as we were saying, give you that head start and give you that sense of confidence as well that you can do it, you can get through it. So as I said, I've been to many meetings this week where the discussion point has been, how can we get enough teachers? How can we deal with the teacher shortage? So that all those questions about employability, I think you'll be pretty safe. There's a really strong demand for teachers all around the state, and interstate as well.
Yeah, and I love how you brought out the diversity of roles that you can have, not just in a school setting. Like for a lot of our teachers, that's what they're passionate about, and that's what they move into. But they may mature in those roles and move into principal or leadership roles, or maybe someone like yourself, maybe moving into academia and a passion around teaching in tertiary education or vocational education. The diversity of roles you can have once you, I guess, step through that door is kind of endless. It doesn't have to look a certain way for your whole career. And well, locally or globally, which is really cool. I know I've had some friends who have taught English over at Vietnam for a series of years and had a really great experience working in those sort of settings and
Yeah,
in
so
international.
true. Yeah, Australian teachers are so in demand. I also have friends who've taught in the UK, and in Japan as well, and just had the most amazing experience. So quite true there. And yes, you can go into academia too. You know, we hope you do. We love our students to come back and do postgraduate study, all the way through from masters to PhD. There's plenty of opportunities to pursue further studies in education. And yes, you could go on to be a school principal, but you could go on to be a lecturer as well. You could decide that you want to take that teaching one step further. And again, if you've done a teaching master's, usually you make a fabulous academic because you have those teaching skills, those people skills, and you're used to giving oral presentations, as we used to call them back in the day. But I can always tell when someone's done a teaching degree because usually they're very articulate and they've got great people skills, and they're not afraid to deliver a presentation and do all the things that are so necessary across many different industries.
My favorite is a lot of my friends who are teachers when it's book week and I get to see all the photos that come through my social media and I'm like, you're afraid to get yourself out there. It's really good.
Yeah, and the other reason I can usually tell somebody is either studying to be a teacher or has done a teaching degree is they're often people who really want to make a difference in people's lives. And I can tell you that being a teacher, you really do make a difference. And if you're that kind of person that, you want to, I guess it sounds a little corny, but you want to make the world a better place, teaching is a great place to do it.
Yeah, including the academia side of it as well, the amount of research that is coming out in our education and how, like, I guess the things we can improve, change, develop, or do differently. Some of the research that comes out of it, not just from UniSC, but Australian institutions overall, working together to, I guess, make a difference in what our teaching model looks like, not just for, I guess, primary and early childhood and secondary, but at university as well. It's like, does it have to be done the same way? And it's really cool that everyone's so open to change and what our model looks like through obviously education.
Yeah, teachers are such change makers. I went into teaching myself because my English teacher many years ago encouraged me to be a teacher, and now I tend to do the same. So it's like a generational thing, and it's interesting. Often some of my favorite writers talk about the teachers that influence them because teachers are such wonderful change agents. Um, but yeah, that's my sort of philosophical thoughts, idealistic thoughts about the other advantages of being a teacher.
Yeah. Now we do need to wrap up, but our audience has actually been quite excited around talking about all the rural placements and rural experiences, which is a lovely thing to hear, especially obviously we have a diverse amount of placement experiences. But a key one, and this might be suitable for Suzanne, yourself, as well as Stacey, to get both your point of views on areas that you guys have accessed and looked. How do I apply for rural placements or rural teaching, like as a graduate position, as well as some of the benefits that we always hear about, where it's for housing or, if you commit to a period of time, maybe HEX support, scholarships, grants. What are your best recommendations? Or even Stacey, what have you seen or pursued in your remit while looking for graduate opportunities? I'll go, Stacey, you can go first.
Sorry. When it comes to rural and remote, if it is a TR4, so when you get into it, there are many different rating levels of schools. So if you're going into something that is a TR4, which is a transfer rating of 4 or higher, and this will make more sense in the degree, you have the opportunity to apply for teacher housing out here. So it's government housing that is at a reduced rate. And if you get offered that place, you generally get the housing as well. Now, it is a reduced rate. It is direct out of your salary. You don't see that money, so you're never late with the rent. And then if you're looking at benefits, there is added benefits for over a TR4 school or a TR5, and the higher the transfer rating that you go, the higher the benefits. Some of those benefits are increased pay, some of them are extra leave days, some of them are extra flights available that can get you there and back. And there are also grants available through the Queensland Education, if it is a Queensland Education school or a Catholic school, they both have grants out here that can get you into teaching in these regional areas, help you with uplifting your house. So you don't have to pay for that out of your own pocket. And how do you apply? You jump onto Queensland Education and Smart Jobs, and the jobs are listed on there. You do need to do a few things, and you need to be in your last semester of schooling of your degree, but that's how you do it.
Stacey, that was great. Thank you. Suzanne, I don't know if she stole your thunder or not, but I think you just covered every aspect of teaching. It's obviously you've just gone through it yourself. You have a wealth of knowledge and did your research, which shows that I guess the decision you made to go rural and remote has been something that has been deep in thought and a decision you really wanted to commit to. And sounds like you might do it for a few years, which is really cool.
And a lot of that knowledge and that support comes from my lecturers at university. So, and a lot of that information, where to start looking, came from them.
Right. And that's a really good point. For a lot of our audiences here, you're not supposed to know everything from the first day you get, I guess, sign on to your degree. Your first year is a really great foundational year where even if you're in primary or secondary or early childhood, there is an element of flexibility that if it's not the right fit for you, you can change within your first year to another area, where it'd be primary or secondary, or maybe you'll have your first placement experience and be like, this is not the right fit for me. I'd prefer to be working with a different age group. There is an element of flexibility built into our degrees. And with those experiences, we'll nurture and shape the way that how you would like to be a teacher and what teaching that really makes you passionate. That's everything from us today. Thank you so much, Suzanne and Stacey, for joining us in this panel discussion and answering all of our attendees' questions. I hope you have received all the information you need this evening about those next steps, what is the right pathway for you, the opportunities around scholarships, as well as placement experiences and what your degree could look like. If you do have any further questions, I highly recommend reaching out to our student support team. Our student inquiry team and student support team have a wealth of knowledge across all of our degrees. You can literally just give them a call on 075430 2890. But if you prefer to email them, you can email them at information@usc.edu.au. Now, that same team as well provides campus tours and one-on-one study consults. So if you jump on our website, you'll be able to see straight on most of our course page banners, book a campus tour or book a study consult. And that same team will be able to book some time with you that you would prefer, or take you for a lap around the campus and show you all the facilities. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to start logging off now. If there is any leftover questions, we'll stay online and answer them through the Q&A chat. But for the rest of you, have a fantastic evening. Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you, Stacey, for joining us.